different from what you have been used to. We're just waiting for the little boy there. Okay. So, what I want you to do, ladies and gentlemen, is this. Please do not take anything that we are teaching you and you don't understand it without asking a question to back it up, all right? So if you have any questions at all, please feel free to ask questions. That's the third time that I'm reiterating that. Go to the book of Revelation, chapter 11. The book of Revelation, chapter 11. And I would like you to begin reading, officer, at verse 8. Go ahead.
Revelation chapter 11 and verse 8. And their dead bodies shall lie in the street of the great city, which spiritually is called Sodom and Egypt, where also our Lord was crucified.
Go on.
Verse 9. And they of all the people and kindred and tongues and nations shall see their dead bodies 3 days and a half, and shall not suffer their dead bodies to be put in graves.
Now, most times when people read the understanding that we have is this is based on the two prophets, correct? And some have speculated and said this is Elijah, which has returned, or it could also be Moses to finish his assignment. And some have even quantified it to believe that this could be Enoch because of the fact that he was taken. But what you must be aware of, that is not the case. You must remember that the scriptures have been given to us from Genesis to Revelation, and there is what is called similitudes, allegories, and parables that's attached to the scriptures. Most people don't understand it because they're seeing it from one perspective. Now, in order for you to get clarity, what I want you to do is make a note of what I'm about to say. Please write the word down, hermeneutics, or hermeneutics. Hermeneutics. Hermeneutics.
Can you spell that again, please?
Right. Hermeneutics. Hermeneutics. Now the reason why it's important is because this is the way that we come to understand the scriptures. It is the science of understanding what the scriptures are. Now, please make a note of this word. The word is exegesis. E-X-E-G-E-S-I-S. Now the word exegesis simply means to explain. Now, if we're in a regular church where I am preaching a message and I'm giving you the explanation based upon my theory and my understanding of maybe learning and background experience, but I'm not tying it into the scriptures, all I have done, according to the scriptures, is given you my opinion. With the scriptures, the word of the Most High has taught us that precept must be upon precept. Let's find that. When we deal with precept upon precept, it means you have to learn how to take one scripture that will explain another scripture to give you a full understanding. If you have it, let's read it.
Isaiah chapter 28 and verse 9. Whom shall he teach knowledge? And whom shall he make to understand doctrine? Them that are weaned from the milk and drawn from the breast. For precept must be on precept, precept upon precept, line upon line.
Now let me explain that. Precept upon precept. Take something from one scripture, use that to explain another scripture, because the scriptures must explain themselves. Over the years, what we have been receiving is a man-made understanding of what the scriptures say. Therefore, depending on the intellectual skill or knowledge or learning of an individual will depend on how much knowledge you get. But according to the scriptures, we must take precept upon precept. Then it says, read it.
Precept upon precept, precept upon precept, line upon line, line upon line.
Line upon line. It must harmonize. Now notice, it uses the word precept upon precept twice. Line upon line, twice. Here a little, there a little, twice. Why? Because the scriptures are covenantal. They must be in agreement, and it's like having a contract. Why is that so important? Because then you can depend on the scripture to always tell you the truth. The scriptures will never lie. Now, with that in mind, let's finish it, but watch it there.
Here a little and there a little.
Here a little and there a little. Now, just so that you understand the word hermeneutics, let's break that down just a little bit. Hermes is the Greek word for a Greek god. It's a mythological word. Hermes. And then you have the word Mercury. Mercury is the Roman mythological word that is used. They both deal with Greek gods. They both deal with what's called the science. The science of speech, the science of writing, the science of invention. That's where they all come from, or derived from. We must also bear in mind as well, before we get back into the scriptures, that what has been taught must come from an individual, and the term that we use is called encoded. Once it receives to the person, it must be decoded so that you understand it. I hope you're understanding that. And so it brings us into clarity. Now let's get back to the word. Here when we look at the book of Romans chapter 11 and verse 8, it says, it uses the word dead bodies. Let's read it again. Romans chapter 11 and, Revelations chapter 11 and verse 8. My error. Salaki. Let's read.
Revelation chapter 11 and verse 8. And their dead bodies.
Now the word dead here, it doesn't mean what you think. When you do the word check on the word, it means downfall. So when we read this here and it says, and their dead bodies shall lie in the streets, it means that they will go into a downfall. You can check it if you want. I mean, everything I'm telling you is based upon going to a Strong's dictionary, finding the word, and as I just mentioned, doing what's known as an exegesis. So the word dead here is not simply the word dead as in somebody just died and that's it. It really is an allegory or a type of similitude for downfall. So it says that, read it, continue please, if you wouldn't mind.
and their dead bodies shall lie in the street of the great city, which spiritually is called Sodom and Egypt.
Sodom and what?
Sodom and Egypt.
And Egypt. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to make a note of this also. Back in those days, it's speaking about what you're reading about their dead bodies. It's two individuals. And I'm going to ask the mother of the children who are being just a little bit disruptive, simply because we have guests with us and I want them to really capture this. We do have a playroom out in the back there, that if we could take them there, then at least it would allow them to be a little bit more expressive as children. I'm just being very mindful of the fact that we do have guests, and I know they maybe find it just a little bit difficult to listen. All right. So my apologies in that regard, okay? All right. So I hope I didn't interrupt your frame of thinking, but I need you to concentrate. I know it would be difficult. When it speaks about their dead bodies, it speaks about the two prophets. The two prophets here, many of you have seen them to be prophets from the scripture, but really it's speaking about the house of Israel, the northern house and the southern house. The two prophets here represent the symbolism to the northern house and the southern house. Now, does anyone have any questions before I take it further? None? No questions? All right, very good. Let's go forward. If you go to 1 Maccabees chapter 2 and 10. Let's read. 1 Maccabees chapter 2 and verse 10. Does any of you have one of these? All right. If we could loan, very good. The brothers have one of these? All right, one of the brothers up here, if we could. Okay. Very good. All right. And, all right, okay, good. So 1 Maccabees, what did I say? 2 and 10, all right. Let's go, let's read.
In the Apocrypha, 1 Maccabees, chapter 2 and verse 10. What nation have not had a part in their kingdom and gotten of her spoils?
Now, the reason why it is actually saying that is because the children of Israel have been completely decimated. Decimated how? Because they have been taken into slavery and they have become what's known as the tail and no longer the head. Now, first of all, to our guests who are here, do you know that according to the scriptures that you are indeed Israel? Do you know that? Do you know that you're Israel? Yeah. Good. Desperate. Do you know that you are Israel? Yes. Good. You have to, first of all, identify with what the scriptures is saying. Because if I'm just teaching you and you are thinking Israel are the people who are over there, then you've missed it. The real Israelites are those who are taken into captivity according to the scriptures, and they were shipped to other countries and used for slave labor. And the slave labor was used in order to build up the economy of those countries. That's why today America is a superpower. It is impossible for a young country like America to become a superpower in the short span of time that it has had. The only reason why that happens is because they had slave labor, free labor, and built the infrastructure of a country that excelled them beyond other countries. The Germans actually have noted this in their history books. They have said the only reason why America passed them is because they had free labor. Whilst the other countries of Europe had to depend on their native people to build their country. But what many of them did, they took part in having a financial legacy in the people that were slaves. Read what you just read again. Read it one more time.
First Maccabees, chapter 2 and verse 10. What nation have not had a part?
Notice what it says. What nation has had or not had a part? All nations had a part in this. Read.
In her kingdom.
In what?
In her kingdom.
In her kingdom. Read on.
And gotten of her spoils.
And received of her spoils. All nations have had this. So if all nations have had this, that means somewhere along the line, someone has benefited. So then we need to understand a couple of things. Make a note of this, please. There is something in the history books, you can Google this, it is called the European competition. It is when all countries were in competition to go and to have part in the abduction of people from the west coast of Africa to bring them into the new world and to use them to dig, to plant, and create the resources to send back to Europe. Europe is rich today because of the resources from the West, for no other reason. But then we go a step further. Let's go to Jeremiah chapter 30 and verse 16. Let's go. Jeremiah chapter 30 and 16.
This is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 30 and verse 16. Therefore, all they that devour thee shall be devoured.
So it's letting you know that all those individuals who devoured you, who took from you, who broke you down and took away your strength, they are also going to be punished. But read on, stop from the top and read it again.
Therefore, all they that devour thee shall be devoured, and all thine adversaries, every one of them, shall go into captivity.
Shall do what?
Shall go into captivity.
Shall go into captivity. So it's making it very clear that those who were a party, they themselves in their future are going to be brought into captivity themselves. Interested? All right, go ahead.
And they that spoil thee shall be a spoil.
And they that did what?
And they that spoil thee shall be a spoil.
They are also going to be a spoil. The word spoil means to destroy, to take away dignity, to take away history. So they sport you, the same thing is going to happen to them. Go ahead.
And all that prey upon thee.
All that did what?
All that prey upon thee will I give for a prey.
Will do what?
Will I give for a prey.
They're going to be given as a prey. Let's go to 1 Ezra chapter 6 and verse 7. 1 Ezra. That's at the beginning of your red book. 1 Ezra chapter 6 and verse 7. All right. That's on page 20. No, on page 8. Pay attention, please. All right, so let's go.
1 Ezra chapter 6 and verse 7. The copy of the letters which Sismus, governor of Syria, and Phoenice, and Sismus, or no, I'm at Phoenice. And
Sesra, yes, go ahead.
With their companions, rulers in Syria and Phoenice, wrote and sent unto Darius, to King Darius, greeting.
Read.
Let all things be known unto our Lord,
Read.
the King, that being come unto the country of Judea, and entered into the city of Jerusalem. We found in the city of Jerusalem the ancients of the Jews.
The who?
The ancients of the Jews.
Read.
That were in the captivity.
So they found the ancients of the Jews who were what? In captivity. Read on.
Verse 9. Building an house unto the Most High God.
Do what?
Building an house unto the Lord.
Read.
Great and new, of hewn and costly stones, and the timber already laid upon the walls. And those works are done with great speed, and the work goeth on prosperously in their hands.
In their hands. Continue.
And with all glory and diligence is it made.
So they knew then that the labor of a particular group of people, because of their speed and the anointing that was on their life, they could build things that would advance certain groups and certain races. So right here, the marvelousness of this scripture lets you know that many of them knew the scriptures. They knew the scriptures, and they knew that a particular group of people, if we could only get them and use them as labor, we could build up a city in no time. Why do you think then that the Egyptians turned around people that were living in Goshen and now had them as slave labor? Because they knew that the hand of the Lord was upon them, and that whatever they touched, they blessed. That's why the Bible says that those who bless you will be blessed, and those who curse you will be cursed. That is a blessing that comes from the mouth of Yah himself. Why do you think, even though we've been scattered throughout the globe, some of us are still over in Africa, Germany, Sweden, the UK, why do you think they don't complain about the people being there? Because whilst they're there, the countries are built up and they thrive. Ladies and gentlemen, in 1960, 1959, my father left the islands of Jamaica and went from Jamaica to England with his brother. During that time, the UK was war-torn. He later sent for his wife, which was my mother, and 3 children. We were all under the age of 4. And she traveled from Jamaica all the way to the UK. When we got there, as a little boy, I remember wondering, what on earth have we come to? I was only a child. But why was this so important? Because everywhere I looked, there were buildings that were war-torn and broken down. At the back of where we lived, we used to call it the dump. Now, we lived in a nice home, but at the back, there were some houses that were hit by the bombs. So-called black people who could afford to buy houses, they would sell them those houses. But what happened was, they were short-sighted, because the same houses they sold them and they bought, they built up greater structures around them, which shot the value of the homes up. And then they began to get jealous over the people who were in those areas. But this is it. Our people were used to build up those structures. And so these nations, from Germany to Italy to France, and Spain alike, they have all prospered from our people being there. You know this, for some of you who are so-called African American. Look how this country has prospered.
That's right.
Who built the roads?
That's right.
Who built the White House?
That's right.
Who built the university?
And yet still, I hear the argument from an onlooker, from those who turn around and say, if you don't like it here, go back to your own country. How do you tell people to go back to their own country when they didn't bring themselves here?
Speak, Pastor. Speak, Pastor.
If they didn't bring themselves here, and yet you're now telling them, go back on your own dime. Hundreds of years later, read what you just read again, sir.
First Ezra chapter 6 and verse 7. Verse 8.
We got Greek verses, correct, go ahead.
Let all things be known unto your Lord, the King, that being come unto the captivity of Judea, the country of Judea, and entered into the city of Jerusalem, we found in the city of Jerusalem the ancients of the Jews that were of the captivity, building an house unto the Lord, great and new, of hewn and costly stones, and the timber already laid upon the walls.
So it's letting you know that our people, we have been blessed with that skill. Quickly go to 2 Ezra chapter 7 and 28. 2 Ezra chapter 7 and verse 28. Let's read.
2 Ezra chapter
7 and 28.
Chapter 7 verse 28. For my son Jesus shall be revealed with those that be with him, and they that remain shall rejoice within 400 years.
Now let's explain this, because sometimes a person will not understand this fully. When you read the Apocrypha, the term Jesus is used more than one time. In this particular section, where you read and hear the term Jesus, it is the Greek rendering of the name Yahawashi. There are other parts in this that you will read where the term Jesus is used, but it's not speaking about Yahawashi, but it's speaking about a man who was named after Jesus. Because certain names were common back then. In other words, this officer's name is Dwayne. But you know, I'm sure, of other people that you've come across over the years who've been called Dwayne. Because names are not exclusive to a person, because they're shared. Here we're reading where it's making a statement to bring about who is who. This is the Jesus, the Yahawashi. And that's why we use the term Yahawashi as in his Hebrew rendering, as opposed to the Greek or what they call the Latin. All right, so in having that understanding, I want you to read it again, please. Read.
For my son, Jesus, shall be revealed with those that be with him, and they that remain shall rejoice within 400 years.
Within 400 years. Why does it say that? Because it's referring to the Roman rule that would take over 400 years later. And in order to get full understanding of that, you have to read Daniel chapter 9 and 25 through to 26. Don't go there now. Just make a note of that, if you please. All right. From here, I want you to go to Obadiah chapter 1 and 18. Obadiah chapter 1 and 18. Let's read.
Obadiah, verse 18. And the house of Jacob shall be a fire, and the house of Joseph a flame, and the house of Esau for stubble, and they shall kindle in them, and devour them, and there shall not be any remaining of the house of Esau, for the Most High God hath spoken.
So it's letting you know right there that he's going to bring the southern kingdom and the northern kingdom, and he's going to bring them together and make them one. Right now, let's understand who are the northern kingdom and the southern kingdom. The southern kingdom consists of Benjamin, Judah, and Levi. Judah is the main tribe, the head tribe. It is the tribe that Jesus, as the world ignorantly calls him, he is the head of that. That's why it is called or named the lion tribe, because the lion is the king of all beasts. But also, ladies and gentlemen, it is the ruler, the monarchy tribe, the one that the Prince of Peace has come through. Then we have Benjamin. Benjamin is the youngest son of Jacob. And he now is the son of his right hand, meaning power. Levi now is the lawyer. The lawyer is a term that means to bring together. That's Levi. They are the lawyer group. That's why the book of Deuteronomy is the second book of the law. Leviticus is the first book, but Deuteronomy is the second book of the law. You got that? That's why you hear, for those of you in your past life who gambled, you use the term called deuce. It is taken from the term Deuteronomy. Deuce, Deuteronomy, the second book of the law. Bearing that in mind, there is also now, and by the way, those three tribes consist of all those who are called so-called African American. Now let me make it very plain. None of you in here can ever be African American, because you can't be named after two Caucasian men when you yourself do not resemble a Caucasian man. So that's what that is implying. Now, the other 10 tribes, they are the ones who are made up of all of the other groups, such as the Mexicans, such as the so-called American Indians, who come under the term Gad. They come from all of that. That's where they stem from. And Guatemala and El Salvador and all of those, Panamanians, they've been scattered through all of those regions. So those are the northern and the southern kingdom being pulled together. All right. So with that in mind, read what you read one more time. Obadiah 18.
Verse 18. In the house of Jacob shall be a fire.
Shall be a fire.
In the house of Joseph a flame.
And the house of Joseph a flame.
In the house of Esau for stubble.
Now Esau is a particular group of people that the Bible speaks about, but they're going to be stubble, meaning that they're going to be destroyed. Read on.
And they shall kindle in them and devour them.
And devour them. Read.
And there shall not be any remaining of the house of Esau.
So Esau in their future will be destroyed. According to the scripture, Esau will be destroyed completely. Now, from there jump to verse 21.
Verse 21. And saviors shall come up on the mount of Zion to judge the mount of Esau, and the kingdom shall be the Most High.
Now it says saviors shall come up. What does it mean by saviors? Can anyone tell me in here?
Us.
Go ahead, man. Israel. Can make it a little bit more plain.
Prophets.
Prophets. Anyone else? Sisters are making the brothers look bad. So, again, it is Israel, but make it a little bit more, but read it one more time for me also.
Yes, sir. Verse 21. And saviors shall come up on Mount Zion to judge the mount of Esau.
Saviors shall come up on Mount Zion to judge what?
The mount of Esau.
Now, when it uses the word mount here, the word mount means their government. That's what it means. It means their government. Anything that you read in the scriptures that uses the word mount always means government, all right? When it uses the word hills, it means government, but man's government. But when we read the word mount, it always means God's government. Go ahead. You had a question?
No, does it mean the elect?
The elect, yes, that's a part of it. But with that in mind, with what you just said, the saviors are going to be those who are going to be teaching this truth. That's why there has been a great upspringing of men on the streets teaching this truth. Now I know, and let me quickly say this, I know some of our brothers who have been on the streets have been very aggressive, and some of you have seen YouTube videos. Have you not seen the YouTube videos of them? And some of them come across very unsavory. Let me ask you a question. How does it make you feel?
Offended.
Makes you feel offended? Anyone else? Go ahead. You turn off from them? Anyone else?
They little.
Oh, yes, man.
Makes people feel uncomfortable.
Makes people feel uncomfortable. Yes?
And you know, you think about the scripture, can blessing and cursing come out of the same mouth?
Right.
There's no righteousness in it. And so, you know, you're not offended because why are you talking like that? It's just, it isn't, why are you talking like that? Why, how is that cussing coming out of your mouth?
Right.
And then you're going to bring forth truth.
Right, I understand. Now, let's understand this. First of all, some of them are operating by a zeal, but not according to knowledge. We also have to be aware of this also, that the Most High God is going to use some of those men to do what they're doing, believe it or not. Let me explain why. Because some of them will be like a John the Baptist, or they will be like an Isaiah. Isaiah was a man, the Bible says, of unclean lips, meaning he would curse you out. Oh yeah. But watch this, the Most High God had to slow him down, that he would have in a vision an angel come and put some hot coal on his tongue. And what the purpose of that was to cool him down from being the aggressive individual that he was in terms of what he was saying. It wasn't that he was wrong, it's just that he put a lot of his passion and his zeal into it. Here is what we must understand. We represent heaven. And if somebody does something that makes you feel offended, who does it also offend? The Most High God. But let's deal with that. Let's cover that a little bit more. Let's go to Isaiah 56. Let's bring that out some more. Isaiah 56. Now again, today, let me keep on reiterating, the purposes of this is to help you get some understanding where you are. Let's go 56 and begin at verse 10.
Yes, sir. Isaiah chapter 56 and verse 10. His watchmen are blind. They are all ignorant. They are all dumb dogs.
Notice what he says. The watchmen are blind. Watchmen are blind. The watchmen are blind, and it says they are all ignorant. Read on.
They are all dumb dogs.
They're all dumb dogs. Now, a watchman, you must be aware of, means is someone who looks out. The word watchman here is signified by the word elder. Put the word elder there if you're making a note. Watchmen are those who are elders. Now, we have what in the ecclesiastical church, we have an elder, and in families, we have men that are elders. Because of my age today, I'm considered to be an elder. But what is an elder? A man who has lived to see many things and has wisdom to give direction to those who are coming behind him. We live in a day and age where people don't want to listen to elders because they feel like you're old school. You hear that expression a lot. But there are some things in old school that can help some new schools.
That's right.
And so what we find here, it says that they are like dumb dogs. Why does it say dumb dog? Because a dog, its whole purpose is to give an alert. If you have a dog that's going to keep quiet and let the burglar walk in your house, you'll soon get rid of him. Or you have a dog that lets the person come in and wags its tail and lets the enemy rubs it on the belly, then you will soon get rid of it. Because a dog's purpose is to give you the alert of who is breaking in or coming near you. So read it again, what you just read, officer. Read.
His watchmen are blind. They are all ignorant. They are all dumb dogs.
Dumb dogs, read.
They cannot bark.
They cannot bark. Read.
Sleeping, lying down, loving to slumber.
Loving to slumber. What it's speaking about there is how the watchmen of the church have become more concerned with how they live and what they have.
Amen.
Leaders of churches are not supposed to become relaxed on luxuries. Leaders of church are meant to be in the book and watching the times and watching the conditions and then using that and teaching it to the people and waking them up and letting them stay alert. You are living in the day and age where, ladies and gentlemen, this age is coming to an end. And everything in the news, everything in the papers, even in the films that they're making in Hollywood, they are all pointing to the end. But what happens is, people are looking at films, that's just Hollywood. No, you seem to forget that the same God who sits high, he controls those who are in Hollywood, and he makes them make those movies to bring attention to us. That's what he's doing. But what we have done, we have taken the mentality of just simply doing this, just sitting back. The Bible says, woe unto them who sit at ease in Zion. You must be careful. So he says, we mustn't be like dumb dogs. Let's go to Jeremiah chapter 3 and 15. Bring your voice down just a little bit to say that, okay? Yes, let's go to Jeremiah chapter 3 and 15. All right, so when you have it, ladies and gentlemen, let's show you what I'm meant to do.
Jeremiah chapter 3 and verse 15. And I will give you pastors according to mine heart.
According to what?
According to mine heart.
Meaning according to his mind and according to his spirit. Read.
Which shall feed you with knowledge and understanding.
So the purpose here of a pastor is to feed you. He said, I will give you pastors according to mine heart, which shall feed you with knowledge and with understanding. So a pastor's job is to feed you with knowledge and understanding. You're meant to be growing. You're meant to be becoming what he desires you to be. And by the way, just to make it very clear, most people don't understand, according to the scriptures, a man, the brethren, you are called to be prophets. But sometimes, yes, I can prove it in the scriptures. But it means we have to first have a love for his word. We must have a desire to fulfill his commandments. Now, let's go to 2 Corinthians chapter 11. Now, again, if there's any questions, please just raise your hand and I'll take your questions. So don't let me keep going and you have a question and I'm not answering it. All right, 2 Corinthians chapter 11 and verse 6. Let's read.
2 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 6. But though I be rude in speech, yet not in knowledge, but we have been thoroughly made manifest among you in all things.
All right. So now watch what is it saying here? It's saying this. Though, read it one more time, so read it.
But though I be rude in speech,
And though I be rude in speech, it's letting you know that even though he may come across to be rude in speech, because I wanted to answer the question earlier on about how some of them come across. Read.
yet not in knowledge,
Read it again.
yet not in knowledge.
So though I be rude in speech, it's telling us clearly that even though I may be rude in speech, I am not in knowledge. But, read.
But we have been thoroughly made manifest among you in all things.
So, the manifestation means the teaching of the word has been thoroughly manifested in the individual. Meaning, he may come across brash. He may come across aggressive. But what the Lord is saying, let me read it again. But though I be rude in speech, yet not in knowledge, I'm not ignorant of the word, but we have been thoroughly made manifested among you in all things. All things we've been manifested there. Read on.
Verse 7, have I committed an offense in embracing myself, that ye might be exalted, because I have preached to you the gospel of Yah freely.
So the gospel must be preached freely. We don't do it because someone's going to give us necessarily a wage. Because it's about waking up our people. It's about putting our people on the right track of understanding. Glory be to his name. Let's go, if you please, to Ezekiel chapter 48 and 1. Ezekiel chapter 48. Now you remember what I said to you earlier. We take precept upon precept. We take line upon line. All right. So Ezekiel 48 and 1.
Ezekiel chapter 48 and verse 1. Now these are the names of the tribes from the north end to the coast of the way of Helion.
Now, the reason why I want to deal with this question is because I was asked the question, what happens to Dan? Because I'm now dealing with all the emails that I get. They said to me, well, Dan was a part of the 12 tribes, but according to the book of Revelation, they're no longer there. That tribe's being cut out. All right. Go back, hold what you got, go to Revelation chapter 7. So everyone, hold what you have, go to Revelation chapter 7. Let me show you something very quickly. Revelation chapter 7. All right, let's begin, if you please, at verse 4.
Revelation chapter 7 and verse 4. And I heard the number of them which were sealed, and there were sealed 144,000 of all the tribes of the children of Israel.
Read.
Of the tribe of Judah were sealed 12,000.
Read.
Of the tribe of Reuben were sealed 12,000.
Read.
Of the tribe of Gad were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Asher were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Naphtali were sealed 12,000.
Read.
Of the tribe of Manasseh were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Simeon were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Levi were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Issachar were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Zebulun were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Joseph were sealed 12,000. Of the tribe of Benjamin were sealed 12,000.
So you'll notice, all of them were sealed 12,000, but Dan wasn't among them. Now, because they did not keep the law and the precepts and the statutes, the Most High God wiped them out. Now, you may be asking the question, so is it true then that Dan does not exist today? That's not true. Dan still exists, but Dan has been amalgamated into all of the different tribes. Proof of that, let's go back to where we were in Ezekiel 48. Ezekiel 48 and verse 1. Let's read.
Ezekiel chapter 48 and verse 1. Now these are the names of the tribes from the north end to the coast of the way of Hethlon, as one goeth to Hamath, Hazar, and then of the border of Damascus, northward to the coast of Hamath. For these are his sides, east and west, a portion for Dan.
See that? So it lets you know then that the Most High God has a portion for Dan. Now, a lot of people miss that. In the future of the churches, and when I say church, I don't mean building, because the churches are individual. We are the churches. In the future, he will have a portion set up for Dan. Dan will be in the kingdom. According to the scriptures, he has a portion for them. But right now, he has made them deceased because of their transgressions. And that's why it's important for you to understand that you cannot play with the Most High God. Because he's watching you. And when you think he's not watching, he's making note. And don't miss this, that some of the things that you thought you got away with today, he doesn't deal with you right there and then. According to the book of Psalms, he says that because I didn't deal with you right away, you thought you got away with it. That's what David writes. But he said down the road, the Most High God will bring some kind of conflict on you. Now forgive me, I ad-libbed that because I don't remember what the actual verse is. But right then, ladies and gentlemen, you don't get away with anything from the Most High God. He keeps everything balanced. Now, does anyone have any questions on that before I move forward? Because again, that was one of the emails that I had to answer along with the two witnesses. You know, two witnesses of the northern and the southern tribes. You now know that Dan is going to be in the kingdom. Right now, he's just amalgamated into the tribes. All right? Question. All right, so your hand, go ahead.
It's not about Dan, but a question that I was going to ask earlier is that many times, you know, you speak to a lot of black women and they have very low respect for black men. So much so, not even the lack of respect for the ones that have had babies with and have left them, but even the very husband that lives in their home have very little respect. So, and sometimes they say it's because I can't help it, he won't do anything, so I have to rise up and take charge.
Mm-hmm.
What do you speak to that woman to say how she should govern herself if she feels that she needs to rise up because her husband is not showing any potential or anything that he's doing? What would you say to that?
All right. That's a lesson in and of itself. But let's go very quickly. Let's go to Timotheus. Let's go to Timothy. Let me find that for you. Let's go to Timothy chapter. Right, let's go to 2 Timothy. I'm sorry, let's go to 1 Timothy chapter 6. And let's begin at verse 3. So 1 Timothy chapter 6, begin at verse 3. Go ahead.
This is the book of 1 Timothy chapter 6 and verse 3. If any man teach otherwise and consent not to wholesome words, even the words of our Lord Yahushua the Mashiach, and to the doctrine which is according to godliness. He is proud, knowing nothing, but doubting about questions and strife of words. Wherefore cometh envy, strife, railings, evil surmisings, perverse doubtings of men of corrupt minds, and destitute of the truth, supposing that gain is goodliness. From such withdraw thyself. But godliness with contentment is great gain.
Great gain. Now, the first thing that we must understand is that a man must be open to be taught. In order for men to be taught, they have to have a foundation of knowledge that lets them know who they are as men. That's what the scripture says, that any man teach otherwise. And then it goes into verse 3. He said, he is proud, knowing nothing. Because a man must be open to doctrine. Back in verse 3, it says, and the doctrine which is according to godliness. And those are the things that helps a man to understand who he is according to the word of God. Because every man in the eyes of the Most High God, he is a king. Hence why we have the word Malik. He's a king. But can you imagine a king not knowing he's a king? He acts like a pauper. And our whole objective is to raise the mentality of our men that they understand that they are more than what the society has deemed them to be. Part of the reason why the men are the way they are, because remember, society has told them that they're this and told them that they're. So what society has done is dumb them down. But what society has done on the opposite side is to empower women over men. That's why we have women's groups that makes women more powerful in greater positions than men. But that's society. That's been going on since 1939. It's been going on since 1864 because when they were trying to push forward the suffragettes and all of those things were the stepping stones that the enemy was using to put women in first positions. That's why you notice back in the early 60s, the government made it so that women would live on their own with their children and not having a man in the house. And that's why men would, as soon as they're knocking the door, the men would be out the window. And then they'd come looking through the house to see if there's any man in the house. So society has been controlling that situation, and that's why we are in the pickle we are today. Now there's more to it, but the only reason why I don't want to really push on that is because that is a lesson of itself, as I mentioned. It's a whole lesson. It's a lesson that we can't just touch and leave. It's a whole lesson. And will we be teaching on it in the future? Yes. Because we have to teach the harmony of male and female, and teach the harmony of who is in what position. So you've asked a good question, but it's one that we will deal with down the road. Is there any other questions that I may have before I push further? Let's go to Matthew chapter 15, please. I want to show you some things. Matthew chapter 15. Begin at verse 24.
Matthew chapter 15 and verse 24. But he answered and said, I am not sent but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, what is your understanding of that? What is your understanding of that? But I'm not sent but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Yes. One moment, sir. Yes.
I'm thinking the lost sheep would be those who have fallen from keeping the law, statutes, and commandments of the Most High.
All right. Anyone else? All right. Go ahead.
is simply lost sheep, which, and that might constitute the hidden ones who are his lost sheep, but in the four corners of the earth. And he sent for no other nation, just the nation of the lost sheep. They're the one living there, living as Gentiles, but do not know that they are the chosen people.
All right. That's good. Let's explain that. Let's break it down even more. Go to Matthew chapter 18 and verse 11, for me, please. 18 and 11.
Matthew chapter 18, verse 11. For the Son of Man is come to save that which was lost.
So the Son of Man has come to save that which was lost. Lost how? Because we have people who are part of what is called the diasporas. They have been scattered. Go to James 1 and 1 real quick. Because even back in those days, they knew that they were people who were scattered.
James chapter 1 and verse 1. James, a servant of Yah, and of the Most High God, Yahweh Mashiach, to the 12 tribes which are scattered abroad. Greeting.
See, so they knew that the 12 tribes were scattered abroad. And their scattering abroad meant that they were in a situation where they were out of connection with their other brethren. Go to Hosea chapter 4 and 6. Hosea chapter 4 and 6. All right? Stay with me, ladies and gentlemen. Hosea chapter, what did I say?
12:28.
4 and 6.
Oh, 4:6, yeah.
This is the book of Hosea, chapter 4 and verse 6. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge.
My people are what?
Are destroyed for the lack of knowledge. Because thou hast rejected knowledge, I will also reject thee.
Yes.
That thou shalt be no priest to me, seeing thou hast forgotten the law of thy Yah.
See, it says because they have forgotten the law of thy Yah. Forgotten it. Read it again.
My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge, because thou hast rejected knowledge. I will also reject thee, that thou shalt be no priest to me, seeing thou hast forgotten the law of thy Yah. I will also forget thy children.
So, because we've forgotten the law, now he says he's going to forget us. Now, let's go back and understand the scripture. Matthew chapter 15 and verse 24. Follow me closely, please, because it's going to confuse you a little bit. I dealt with it the other day, but I want to deal with it from another direction right now. Go to verse 21, Matthew 15 and 21.
Matthew chapter 15 and verse 21. When Yahweh went thence and departed unto the coast of Tyre and Sidon.
Now, where is the coast of Tyre and Sidon?
Syria.
Do not guess, sir. Where is the coast of Tyre and Sidon?
Egypt.
You're in the right vicinity. I'm surprised. You're in the right vicinity. Well done. Now, why is it in the right vicinity? Because where is Egypt?
Africa.
Good, North Africa. So then, it tells us clearly here, read 21 again.
When Yahweh went thence and departed into the coast of Tyre and Sidon.
Now, Tyre and Sidon. Read the next verse.
Verse 22. And behold, a woman of Canaan came out of the same coast and cried unto him, saying, Have mercy on me, O Lord. Thou son of David, my daughter is grievously vexed with a devil.
With the devil. Now, to get the precept of this, run back to the Old Testament, go to Zechariah chapter 14. Don't lose where you are. Zechariah chapter 14. And let's begin at 21.
Listen. Zechariah chapter 14 and verse 21. Yea, every pot in Jerusalem and in Judea shall be holiness unto the Most High God of hosts, and all they that sacrifice shall come and take of them, and see it therein, and in that day there shall be no more the Canaanite in the house of the Lord of hosts.
See that? The latter clause. And in that day there shall be no more the Canaanite in the house of the Lord of hosts. All right. Because it's dealing with a prophecy. This is the fulfillment of a prophecy. Right? Let's go back now and read verse 27.
Matthew chapter 15 and verse 27. And she said, Truth, Lord, yet the dogs eat of the crumbs which fall from their master's table.
All right, read 24 on down.
24. But he answered and said, I am not sent but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel.
Read.
Then came she and worshipped him, saying, Lord, help me. But he answered and said, It is not meet to take the children's bread and cast it to dogs.
Read.
And she said, Truth, Lord, yet the dogs eat the crumbs which fall from the master's table.
Fall from the master's table. Now, to get the clarity of that, we've got to go to Isaiah chapter 14 and verse 1. Isaiah chapter 1,
14, verse 1.
verse 1. Read.
Isaiah chapter 14 and verse 1. For the Lord will have mercy on Jacob, and will yet choose Israel, and set them in their own land, and the strangers shall be joined with them.
And the who?
And the strangers shall be joined with them.
Read.
And they shall cleave to the house of Jacob. And the people shall take them, and bring them to their place. And the house of Israel shall possess them in the land of the Lord for servants and handmaids. And they shall take them captives, whose captives they were, and they shall rule over their oppressors.
Rule over their oppressors. All right, now, ladies and gentlemen, let's throw it back out to you. What do you understand so far? Go ahead, sir.
No, Pastor, I just want to point out something to, some people might think the Middle East and so on, but what you just pointed out when you asked us where was Tyre to Sidon, in the map, you can see that was Canaanite, and that was what they so-called Africa now, they call it. So the Middle East is just a coin just to just take us away from where we really came from, who inhabited that part of the world.
Right. Well, first thing we must remember, ladies and gentlemen, and your point is valid. Remember this: there is no such thing as Middle East. It's like when you have people say, they'll always say that Jesus was Middle Eastern. There's no such thing. So how could he be? The Bible says that he sprang out of Judah. Now you are aware that Yahushua, whom the world calls Jesus, you do know that he was that black man. You all do know this, right?
Not our
Brothers, you know this, right?
Oh, yes. It wasn't ours.
All right. Because some people think that he's the picture that your grandmother or your mother had on the wall, blue-eyed, blonde hair. He's not that. You do know this, right?
Yes.
All right. My new brothers, you know this, right? No? Good stuff. See, that's what I want.
That's what we put.
And that's why, Brother John, I need to hear them. Because here's the thing. If you don't know, then we'll go on like you do know. Let's prove it. Let's hold this just for a quick moment. Let's make sure that we're all on the same page. There is no such thing as a Middle Eastern man. Because the word Middle East didn't come about until 1948. Therefore, if there was no such thing as that, and they're calling it Middle East, it's a made-up term. It's like the term Christianity. There's no such thing as Christianity. It's a made-up term. Christian exists in the scriptures, but not Christianity. The word Christianity is on the same par as the word democracy. It's a political term used. So let's prove to you that Yahushua is not the person you thought he was. Revelation chapter 1 verse 1. Let's read.
This is the book of Revelation, chapter 1 and verse 1. The revelation of Yahushua.
Notice what it said. I just read this last night with your brother there. So it said, the revelation of who?
Yahushua, the Mashiach.
So it's the revelation of whom the world calls Jesus Christ. The revelation means to reveal.
That's right.
That's what it says, to reveal. So we're going to be revealing who he is. Watch what it goes on to say. Read.
Which Yah gave unto him to show unto his servants things which must shortly come to pass.
So this is to show to us things which will shortly come. What's this?
And he sent and signified it by his angel unto his servant John.
Read.
Who bear record of the word of Yah and to the testimony of Yahushua HaMashiach.
So it uses the word record. Who bear record. If you bear record of something, that means then that it has to be written down. Who bear record. If it's recorded, it means it's been written down. If it's been written down, it means there is no mistake in it. It's recorded. Who bear record of the word of God and the testimony of Jesus Christ, I read it verbatim, and all things that he saw. Now, jump from there to verse 10.
Verse 10. I was in the Spirit on the Lord's day, and heard behind me a great voice as of a trumpet, saying, I am Alpha and Omega, the first and the last. And what thou seest, write it in a book.
So it says it's been recorded, and now it says it's been written in a book. So if it's been recorded and written, it means then there is proof. We're not making this up. Read on, sir.
And sent it unto the 7 churches which are in Asia, unto Ephesus, and unto Smyrna, and unto Pergamos, and unto Thyatira, and unto Sardis, and unto Philadelphia, and unto Laodicea. And I turned to see the voice that spake with me, and being turned, I saw 7 golden candlesticks.
Right. So it lets you know now that it has all been recorded, sent to the 7 churches, which mean the 7 ages. And remember, ladies and gentlemen, they're all significant. Okay? We're not going to be breaking them down. But then when we get to verse 13, watch what it says.
And in the midst of the 7 candlesticks, one like unto the Son of Man, clothed with a garment down to the foot.
Now the reason why it lets you know it goes down to the foot is because it's letting you know what his face looks like is the same as his foot. Because I've heard some people make some very weird suggestions about what the face is this, but then it's saying down to the foot, letting you know it's the whole body. Read.
And girt about the paps with a golden girdle.
Watch this.
Verse 14. His head and his hairs were white like wool.
there is only one race under the sun that has woolly hair.
That's right.
And it's the race that's in this room right now.
That's right.
There's only one race under the sun. You can't escape it. You can try to harmonize this as how you choose. It doesn't change the evidence of what the book says was recorded and written. Read.
As white as snow, and his eyes were as a flame of fire, and his feet like unto fine brass.
Brass is only one color. Brown.
That's it.
That's right.
Amen.
And then, to put it even more significantly, read.
And his feet like unto fine brass, as if they burned in a furnace.
And if you burn something in a furnace, what color does it get? Black.
Ah, yeah.
So how comes this is not taught in the churches?
Yes. Amen. Amen.
It's telling you exactly what it looked like. That means all these false images that we've had our parents used to put up in their front rooms or living rooms or whatever, or the best room. And my sister would tell me, we had one of those pictures in my mother's room, and my God, the eyes followed you everywhere you went. That devil, the eyes, I went to the left, it went to the left, went to the right, I thought nothing was following me.
And when you pray, that's all you say.
And what I ended up doing was this. I ended up taking it down and throwing it away. And then she said, is where my picture there? Because what in the best platform? Because she was very upset that it was taken away. And my argument was, if he has curly hair that looks like wool, what is that picture doing there? Because it's not going according to the scriptures. But let's give you the answer as to why that. From the other question, but my brother didn't ask question, and I want to make sure that I answer my brother's question. Let's go, you know, the one that I want in the book of Second Maccabees. Second Maccabees chapter Second Maccabees. Is it 3? Yeah, you're right. It's Second Maccabees. Or is it First Maccabees? Yes, it's First Maccabees. Whatever you say. First Maccabees chapter 3 and verse 48. Go ahead.
In the Apocrypha, chapter 3, in the Apocrypha, First Maccabees, chapter 3 and verse 48. And laid open the book of the law, wherein the heathen had sought to paint the likeness of their images.
Now, let me explain that. In our original, what we call Bibles, they call it scriptures. In the original scriptures, our people painted the images of the writers. There were pictures of Yahushua. There were pictures of Paul. There were pictures of John and Peter and James. There were pictures of them signifying Zephaniah, Obadiah. There were pictures of them because they painted them. So what our oppressors did, they took away the pictures, painted their own image in there, so that when you see Abraham, you saw a certain image of Abraham, and when you saw Zephaniah or Zedekiah, there are images of them, of themselves, not of the original people of the scriptures. And after a while, once that became burned into the memories of the people, then they eliminated the pictures completely. I remember as a child, we had a very old Bible, and it showed the images that showed the patriarchs, the men of color. But after a while, those pictures changed to where you saw images still, but now the colors of the patriarchs had changed. But you just read it again, sir.
First Maccabees chapter 3 and verse 48. And laid open the book of the law, wherein the
Now, when it says the book of the law, meaning the scriptures,
wherein the heathen have sought to paint the likeness of their images.
so to back that up, because some of you say, well, that's in this. Where is it in the scriptures? Well, remember, they're both scriptures. It's just that one has been removed. This original used to be in the Bible. Let's go to Daniel chapter 7, verse 25. All right, Daniel chapter 7, verse 25. Let's go ahead.
Daniel chapter 7 and verse 25. And he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the
Now the saints are us. We are the saints. Now hold that for a moment. Run to the book of Psalms, chapter 149, and read verse 1 to show you who the saints are.
Psalms chapter 149 and verse 8, verse 1. Praise ye the Most High. Sing unto the Lord a new song, and praise in the congregation of saints.
The saints. The saints were us. The saints weren't St. Paul and St. Peter as the Roman Catholics teach. The saints were us. Remember, we are of the 12 tribes. Our Mexican brothers, our so-called American Indian brothers, we are all of the 12 tribes. You got that? So that's where we understand it from. Now, go back to Daniel chapter 7 and let's finish it.
Daniel chapter 7 verse 25. And he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change times.
To change what?
To change time.
Now, the reason why it says to change time is because the original year begins in March, April. Today, we begin the year in January, February. Incorrect. So he wore out the saints in slavery. He changed the times. Go on.
To think to change times and laws.
And he changed the laws. That's why we have different laws today. Remember, every day of the week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, they are all names of mythological gods.
Yes, yes.
So every day you get up and you say that today's Monday, or thank God it's Friday, you are celebrating mythological gods. And that's why when the Most High sends his son back, he's going to change everything back to how it was. Because we are praising the days, misunderstanding that those days are idols.
Yes.
Every day of the week is an idol day. Every month, January, February, March, April, they're all idol months. He's going to change them back to what they originally was.
And think to change times and laws, and they shall be given into his hand until a time and times and the binding of time.
All right. From there, let's understand that further. Let's go to First Maccabees chapter. In fact, we won't go there because of time. I want to make sure I keep us on a certain time. So now you understand, my brother, that Jesus, as the world calls him, is not a so-called Caucasian man. He, in fact, he's blacker than you and I.
Yes.
That's what the Bible says. Any questions on that before I go any further?
No.
All right. Okay. All right. Is there any other question? I want to make sure I keep on track. Any other questions? All right. All right. Now, let's quickly go, if you please, to Isaiah 40 and 15. Now remember, I'm jumping through, but I promise you we'll go over these again so that we'll bring more clarity to you. It's just making sure that keep you on par. Isaiah, what did I say?
40 and 15.
40 and 15.
Isaiah chapter 40 in verse 15. Behold, the nations are as a drop of a bucket, and are counted as the small dust of the balance. Behold, he taketh up the idols as a very little thing. Verse 16. And Lebanon is not sufficient to burn, nor the beast thereof sufficient for a burnt offering.
Now, let's explain that, because you've read it and you may not understand it fully. To understand it fully, you have to go to 2nd Ezra chapter 6 and 54, or begin at 54, key verses 56. 2nd Ezra chapter 6 and verse 54. And then the key verse is 56. Let's go.
2nd Ezra chapter 6 and verse 54. And after these, Adam also, whom thou madest Lord of all thy creatures, of him come we all, and the people also whom thou hast chosen. All this have I spoken before thee, O Lord, because thou madest the world for our sakes.
So he's telling you the world was not made for everybody. I know you think that. I know that's not what you've been taught in schools. But according to the scriptures, the world was made for our sakes, according to the scriptures. Now you're thinking, well, but he's made it for everybody. Because we all have to live in unity in that, and there has to be equality. First of all, there's no such thing as equality. If there was such a thing as equality, then we would be equal with everyone right now, but we're not. There has to be a ruling class.
Yes.
And understand this well, ladies and gentlemen, that currently the people who are the ruling class are those throughout the world that are called Caucasians. Now, the reason why many of them don't like to use the word Caucasian, because unfortunately, they know what it means. Most people don't know what the word Caucasian means. Who can tell me?
I don't.
Yeah. Thank you for being honest with me, sir. Who can tell me what does the word Caucasian mean? The word Caucasian means cave dweller. So when you hear them say, was he Caucasian? He was a cave dweller, yes. That's what it means. Because the word Caucasian was tied because they lived in caves in the Georgia, Russia, the Caucasus Mountains. And remember the term Georgia, Russia. Georgia, Russia. Caucasus Mountains in Georgia, Russia. That's where the term Caucasian comes from. Caucasus Mountains. Cave dweller. And so, the Most High says that the earth was made for his people. Read it again, sir.
Verse 55. All this have I spoken before thee, O Lord, because thou madest the world for our sakes. As for the other people, which also come from Adam, thou hast said that they are nothing but be like unto spittle, and hast likened the abundance of them unto a drop that falleth from a vessel.
Now, when you read that, you'll say to yourself, what? Yes, but that's what the Lord is saying. That's why when you go back and read Isaiah chapter 40 and verse 15, you will see now how it ties into the precept you just read. Read Isaiah chapter 14 and 15 again.
Isaiah chapter 40, verse 15. Behold, the nations are as a drop of a bucket.
You see that? The nations are as a drop of a bucket. Go back and read from the Apocrypha again and read what it said.
Second Ezra chapter 6, verse 56. As for the other people, which also come of Adam, thou hast said that they are nothing, but be like unto spittle, and has likened the abundance of them unto a drop that falleth from a vessel.
See? So it's making it very clear what they are like. It's making it very, very clear indeed. See that? So, that's what you have to understand, the two together. All right? So, with that in mind, any questions so far on that? He made the world for your sakes. Got that? All right, from there, let's go to Jeremiah chapter 7 and 38. Let's go there first, and then we'll. Did I say Jeremiah? I'll tell you what, before we go there, we'll go back to Isaiah 45 and 4, 45 and 4. 45 and 4. Let's read.
Isaiah chapter 45 and verse 4. For Jacob my servant's sake, and Israel mine elect, I have even called thee by thy name. I have surnamed thee, though thou hast not known me.
See? So he says, for Jacob my servant's sake, and Israel my elect. That means as Israel, he has chosen you. You are his elect. He has chosen you above everyone else. Got that? All right. To prove that, go to Deuteronomy 6 and 7. Got it right this time. 7 and 6. I don't know why that is 6 and 7. Right. Go ahead. 7 and 6.
Deuteronomy chapter 7 and verse 6. For thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy God. The Lord thy God hath chosen thee to be a special people unto himself, above all people that are upon the face of the earth.
So he says, he has chosen you to be a special people above all the people upon the face of the earth. Go to chapter 14 and 2.
Deuteronomy chapter 14 and verse 2. For thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy God, and the Lord hath chosen thee to be a peculiar people unto himself, above all nations that are upon the earth.
So you see now that you are that people. You're that people. Now, does it seem strange to you that people who have been selected by the Most High God, yet they act like the worst people at times? Oh no, we act great all the time. No, we don't. And by the way, that's endemic of us whether we're here or we're abroad. Wherever we are, we act like that. All right. Any other questions from anyone else? Any questions up to this point? Did your hand? Oh no, that wasn't it. Right. Any other questions? All right. I want to just do 2 more scriptures and then we're going to stop and we're going to move forward. Go, if you please, to Sirach chapter 28. Sirach chapter 28, beginning at verse 1. That comes under Ecclesiasticus for some of you who don't. All right. If you have it, begin to read it. But those of you that are trying to find it, it's verse 87. Go ahead.
In the Apocrypha, Sirach, also known as Ecclesiasticus, chapter 28 and verse 1. He that revengeth shall find vengeance from the Most High, and he will surely keep his sins in remembrance.
So we mustn't look for vengeance. Continue.
Verse 2, forgive thy neighbor the hurt that he hath done unto thee, so shall thy sins also be forgiven when thou prayest.
So in order for us to get our sins forgiven, we must forgive our neighbors. Read.
Verse 3, one man beareth hatred against another, and doth he seek pardon from the Lord. He showeth no mercy to a man which is like himself, and doth he ask forgiveness of his own sins.
This is why you'll find that our people have this natural proclivity to want to hate on our own people. We tend to want to fight our own people quicker than anyone else.
Yes.
Yet the Bible tells us that we have to show mercy to our own people, but we don't show any. Read verse 4.
Verse 4, he showeth no mercy to a man which is like himself.
Like what?
Like himself.
So a man who looks like you show no mercy. But to someone else, you'll show mercy. Read.
And doth he ask forgiveness of his own sins.
Read.
Verse 5, and he that is but flesh nourish hatred, but who will entreat for pardon of his sins. Verse 6, remember thy end, and let iniquity cease. Remember corruption and death, and abide in the commandments.
And do what? Abide in the what?
In the commandments.
In the commandments. All right, so some of you here are new. Do you understand what the commandments are that we have to abide in? All right, do you understand? Do you understand the commandments? Now, officer, if you just stand for a moment. Right. You'll notice that he has, on his garment, he has fringes at the back. Do you know why we have fringes? You know why? Good. You don't know why? Do you know why? All right. Go ahead. I'll show you why we have fringes. And then you'll notice that all the men in here have beards. Now let me explain why that is as well. Because go ahead, let's deal with the fringes. Go ahead.
Numbers chapter 15, verse 38. Speak unto the children of Israel, and bid them that they make them fringes in the borders of their garments throughout their generations, and that they put upon the fringe of the borders a ribbon of blue. And it shall be unto you for a fringe, that ye may look upon it, and remember all the commandments of the Lord.
So the fringe is to help us to remember all of the commandments. Why? Because there are 613 commandments. But they're wrapped into what, ladies and gentlemen? You all know this. They're wrapped into the 10. Because if you add up 6, 1, 3, it comes to 10. Now, the beards, let's explain that real quick. All right, you got it?
Leviticus chapter 21 and verse 5. They shall not make baldness upon their head, neither shall they shave off the corner of their beard, nor make any cuttings in their flesh. They shall be holy unto their God, and not profane the name of their God. For the offering of the Lord made by fire, and the bread of their God they do offer, therefore they shall be holy.
This is so that we can be holy. Now, do you know where the shaving of a man's face comes from? Do you know where that comes from?
Egypt.
Well done. I like that. It's an Egyptian tradition. The shaving of a man's face and the shaving of a man's head, they're all Egyptians. It's like even when you wear a wedding band. It doesn't say that man can't wear a ring. It speaks about wearing a wedding band, because the wedding band is Egyptian. And so those are the things that come to mind. Now, I know some people say, ooh, well, my husband wears a wedding band. Well, I had a very nice wedding ring. And I took it off because we are Israelites. We are Hebrew Israel. We're Israelites by what? What are we Israelites by? Nationality. And we are Hebrews by what? Language. So we do the things that Hebrew men do. So we wear a beard, and we wear, now it doesn't stipulate whether it be a long or short, so long as you have a beard. What we don't do, we don't line it up around here, because lining that up is only to make us look sweet for the women. So, brothers who be lining it up on all this business, we know what your game is about. You're trying to become what a Mac Daddy affair.
That's true.
You don't line it up. You have to have a full beard. You can keep it short if you wish. You can keep it long, that's up to you. But you have to have a beard. Why? Because it's also to separate you from the femininity. Because it brings about a certain look on a man. It makes him look kind of feminine. And I don't mean to offend any of our brothers in here, so don't attack me afterwards. But what I'm trying to let you know is that a beard makes you look manly. Now, some of you say, but I can't grow a beard. You grow it as best as you can. We have a brother there. He can't grow a full beard, but what he can grow, he grows. Because that's the purpose behind having a beard. All right? When we don't, you can shave, you can cut your hair low, but you can't put a razor to it. Because, you, Brenner, and what's his name, Michael Jordan, all of those, we don't carry the cue ball style. We keep a little bit of something up on there. Hallelujah. Now, the reason why I tell you this is because for some of our brothers now, you've got to know, when we enter into this truth, there is a way that we must go. And the Most High, He's watching your obedience.
Yes.
For some of you, you turn around and say, but I like the cue ball thing. Well, you rock it good. But here's the thing. Who are you going to please? The Bible says, if Baal be Baal, serve him. But if God be God, serve him. And the scripture says it's better to serve God rather than man. You see? So this is why we do what we do. Any questions so far, brothers? I know the brothers are kind of kicking. Any questions so far? All right. Sisters, you'll get that? All right. Say, Pastor, you had your other brothers in the first day. Yes. My brother over there, I said to him, if you're going to waste my time, don't bother to call me. I told him straight. And I'm not saying that to be humble, but he has a desire. And he came many miles to be at camp yesterday. He came to camp and he stood there and he asked questions all night long.
Amen.
And we answered all of his questions because that's what we're there to do. Because we are the prophets. Brothers, you got to know this. You're not just simply men. You've been taught to think you're just simply men. But you're prophets of the Most High God. And as that, you're going to start acting like go with me, because just can I give you 2 more scriptures, please?
Please.
Go with me to Job. Job 19 and 16. All right?
This is the book of Job, chapter 19 and verse 16. I called my servant, and he gave me no answer. I entreated him with my mouth.
Now, let's understand what that is saying. In the kingdom of God, you're going to, and that's if you make it there, you're going to have servants according to the book. When we were in slavery, ladies and gentlemen, if the master called us, what did we do? Talk to me. I'm in America now, and you can't be me talking to Americans who have a heavy slavery history, and you're not going to tell me something. What did you do? You went. If you didn't go, what do you think the master would have done?
Could have been a whipping all your life.
Right, a whipping or see, that's the way it is. In the kingdom, the Bible says we're going to have servants. Do you think because Yahushua's returned and the earth is now being rejuvenated, that they're going to be willing to serve you? Read it again, sir. Watch what it says.
Job, chapter 19 and verse 16. I called my servant, and he gave me no answer.
He gave me no answer. How would that make you feel? All right, read on.
I entreated him with my mouth.
Go to Proverbs 29 and 19.
Proverbs, chapter 29 and verse 19. A servant will not be corrected by words, or though he understand, he will not answer. Verse.
Did you see that? Read it one more time.
A servant will not be corrected by words, for though he understand, he will not answer.
He will not answer. So that means you're going to have to do something else. Go to Sirach chapter 42 and verse 5.
In the Apocrypha, chapter 42, Ecclesiastes chapter 42, verse 5. End of merchants, indifferent selling of much correction of children, and to make the side of an evil servant to bleed.
Is that what it said? It said that you have to make it bleed.
What?
Sirach chapter 42 and verse 5, which is Ecclesiastes.
It's on page 96.
That's heavy. Because you will have servants in the kingdom, and they have to obey you in the kingdom, according to what we're dealing with here. All right.
Much correction.
And said what?
Much correction.
Much correction. So it's making it clear what their position must be. All right. One more scripture, Malachi 1:4 and 1, and then we're going to start. Isaiah 14. Yes, this man. Question?
No, I don't have a question, per se, I have a statement.
Okay.
Now, I wanna understand, why would we have to beat our servants into submission when all the earth has already come to know who the Most High is and have come to know what their position is in the kingdom?
All right.
I wouldn't.
Let's go to Revelations chapter 13. Let me show you why. Remember what I said earlier, that there is nothing that is done that the Most High God will not balance. He doesn't let anyone get away with anything. We are his people. The reason why we are in servitude right now, many people say, but we're free. No, you're not free. I know here in America people think that they're free. You're not free. If you are free, why do you have a birth certificate? If you are free, why do you have a social security number? If you are free, why do you have to have a passport? Because if you're free, you can go wherever you want, and you don't need anything to prove who you are.
That's right, amen.
But because you are still enslaved, and many of us now have become what's called indentured slaves, which simply means this: you may get a pay packet or a check, but that whole check, all it's doing is to keep you happy at a certain level. Because slaves are still in operation right now. It's a different form of slavery. But let me show you this, because you asked a good question. But let's read what Revelation says first.
Revelation chapter 13, verse 9. If any man have an ear, let him hear.
So first of all, we have to listen to what the scripture is saying. If any man has an ear, let him hear what the scriptures is saying. Read.
Verse 10. He that leadeth into captivity.
So he says, if you lead someone into captivity, watch now what he says.
Shall go into captivity.
So if you let someone into captivity, you now must go into captivity. In other words, he's not going to let you do a crime and think because he's returned that everything's going to be all right and everyone will be loving on each other. That won't be the case. Because he says there's a particular group of people who set this up, and the Bible says that he hates that particular group of people. But let's deal with this verse.
He that killeth with the sword.
And many of us have been killed with a sword.
Amen.
Read.
Must be killed with the sword.
It didn't say try and kill them with a sword. It said they must be killed with a sword. If you took people into captivity, you're going to go into captivity. If you kill people with a sword, you're going to be killed with a sword. Read.
Here is the patience and the faith of the saints.
So it says here is the patience and the faith of the saints. Go to 2nd Ezra real quick, 15 and 56. Because we need to understand that there is no crime that is done that does not have a payback period. Tell me something. Is there a time period on murder?
No, sir.
I'm sorry? No. I mean, I'm asking you because this is your country. There's no time period on murder. If you kill someone, that crime stays open.
That's right.
Is that correct?
That's right.
So according to your law, it stays open. So by your own laws here, even if your ancestors have killed someone, that crime has to be paid for. You got it?
15:56.
Right. 2nd Ezra, chapter 15, 56.
Yes, sir. In the Apocrypha, 2nd Ezra, chapter 15 and verse 56. Like as thou hast done unto my chosen.
So, like as thou hast done unto my chosen people, read,
saith the Lord, even so shall God do unto thee, and shall deliver thee into mischief.
So he says the same thing that you did to my people is going to be done to you, and it's going to be done in mischief. Go ahead.
Verse 57. Thy children shall die of hunger, and thou shalt fall through the sword. Thy city shall be broken down, and all thine shall perish with the sword in the field.
So he says, all of your children are going to also die for the father's sins. Because he's letting you know that no one is going to get away. Well, why is that? Because remember, the children of the oppressor are benefiting from what their fathers did.
That's right.
They're benefiting.
That's right.
Are you benefiting? Of course you're not benefiting. So that's what the scripture is letting us know. So back to your question. In an earth that is now going to be refreshed, why would those things not happen? Well, they're going to happen because what the Bible says that he is a just God. And as a just God, he's going to bring justice. Because there's never really been any true justice for the people of God. All that has happened so far, we have been passed over. But he's going to bring that correct. In fact, let me show you something in the book of Isaiah. It says, prepare the daughters for slaughter. Yeah, no, you have it.
Isaiah chapter 14, verse 21. Prepare slaughter for his children, for the iniquity of their fathers.
See that? So prepare slaughter for the iniquities of the father. Read.
That they do not rise, nor possess the land, nor fill the face of the world with cities.
See that? So repeat that scripture.
Isaiah chapter 14, verse 21.
Verse 21. You want to make a note of that and read it at your own convenience. All right. Any other questions on that? All right. Any other questions? All right. At this time, we're going to stop there for this week. We're going to allow some time for some fellowship and so on. So at this time, we're going to receive an offering, and then we're going to close in prayer, and then I'm going to give you some further instructions for this week. Now, just so that whilst you're preparing all of those things that we explained to you, usually, I'm sorry.
Do you want to stop this? Do you want to stop this now or continue? Do you want to stop?
Yes, if we could, yes.
Okay.
Thank you so much. This is the slide that we're going to,